a story of an Afghan ally seeking asylum in the United States. Our military trained Abdul Wasi Safi to be an elite Special Forces commando before last year's withdrawal. He went into hiding after Kabul fell and then traveled across 2 continents to get to the U.S., but he's now sitting in a Texas prison and facing deportation back to Kabul. His brother Sami Safi joins us now. He is a former Afghan translator for U.S. troops. He is here in the United States on a special immigrant visa, and we are glad to have you here. We are sorry for what you're going through. I have a few questions. One, how much danger was your brother in from the Taliban once the United States had that chaotic withdrawal last August?
Thank you so much for having me in your show. After the collapse of Afghanistan, it was very hard for my brother to survive and not being captured by Taliban. I had a lot of non-profit organizations basically feeding me information on which routes to avoid in order to not to be captured by Taliban. So my brother had to go in hiding from one place to another, and finally he was in a place where there was nowhere to hide. His friends were being captured and killed. So he called me from Afghanistan and told me that there's no way he can hide anywhere because Taliban put out a news that if you see someone new in the village, in the area, inform. If you don't, you're part of his punishment. So my brother knew that if he was captured, he would be killed immediately, just like so many other Afghan special forces who were captured and killed.
So he decides to try to get to the United States to safety. And he crosses with many other migrants at our southern border. Is that correct?
So he comes to a very country that he fought alongside men and women in uniform. He was expecting that he would come to America, prove his identity, and he will receive a hero welcome. But unfortunately, it was totally different to him when he arrived to the border. First, he had to pass all the countries from Brazil, making it to United States, and basically going through all types of torture.
Yes, and let me just break in here, Sami, to explain to people. So your brother has said that the police in Panama, he said, tortured him, stripped him naked, threw insect repellent from his pack onto his open wounds, called him a terrorist. And then, as I understand, the reporting says he crossed with about 100, at least 100 other migrants, and apparently every one of those other migrants were released into the United States, but your brother is in prison. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So he came to United States border not knowing where the entry point is. So he came with 100+ migrants when everybody else was released, but him was basically taken to another custody by Border Patrol, where he was being interrogated, investigated, and basically he received the worst treatment that he was never expecting from a country that he fought alongside.
I hear you. Let me ask you something. Have you heard anything from the administration, the federal administration, who would be able to provide a visa or get this situation resolved? I'm just curious if you have heard from the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas, Secretary Lloyd Austin at the Defense Department, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, or even the White House itself?
Unfortunately, no one has contacted me. I have reached out to congressmen, congresswomen in Texas. And I've reached out to everyone I could. Basically, I've been ignored by so many.
What would you like to say to President Biden right now, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States?
I would like to basically send a message to him saying, my brother fought alongside the same troops you deployed to Afghanistan, and now he's facing deportation. The people that come to the borders without any vetting, they're being released. But my brother comes with a background, a clear background, that he fought alongside the same troops that you gave in mission to go to Afghanistan and free Afghanistan from the terrorists that are now in power. He deserves recognition for his service, not to be in prison and not to be tortured by a country that he stood alongside, he fought alongside.
All right, Sammy. We're going to get that message out there, and we'll stay on top of the story. Thank you for telling us everything that's going on, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet, Sammy.